This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. CJAD 800.
I know that there are some who are adding fuel to the fire by claiming that Bill 96 will prevent English-speaking Quebecers from receiving healthcare services in English. We know that some of the people are worried. We are committed to protecting your access to healthcare in English. It's a historical promise that we will keep. And you will continue to have English-speaking hospitals, schools, CEGEPs, and universities. I know of no linguistic minority that is better served in its own language than the English-speaking community in Quebec. We are proud of that. And we are also proud to be a Francophone nation in North America, and it's our duty to protect our common language. And I invite all Quebecers to speak it, to love it, and to protect it. Thank you.
That is the premiere in the wake of Bill 96 having been adopted a little over an hour and a half ago. It's official. Bill 96 will become law. And James MENNIE is on the line. Jim, pulling out the tropes about, yes, we're the best treated minority anywhere, blah, blah, blah. What I take from that is the good news. They're not going to be shutting down any hospitals or schools. That's what I got from that particular
Isn't that
piece.
grand?
Yeah.
You know, I got to tell you, that clip is you got to bookmark that one, because we'll be hearing a lot more of that clip in the months to come. But I have to tell you, my initial reaction is that when I hear the arsonist in chief of social division in Quebec turning around talking about fueling the fires of controversy, that's a bit rich, and I'll bet you folding money he didn't say anything like that in French. And once again, yes, we're so lucky that we're allowed to have hospitals and universities and radio stations. Listen, Bill 90. Let's just call it what it is. Bill 96 is a direct assault on the Canadian Charter of Rights. It's a direct assault on the Quebec Charter of Rights. It's a direct assault on the Canadian justice system and how it's administered in Quebec. And it's a direct assault on the Quebec healthcare system and how it's administered in Quebec. Okay? The idea that I'm allowed to have my hospital, I can have my hospital. Lucky me. The problem is, any snitch, any rat in that hospital who thinks they may have overheard me speaking in English and didn't bother to check my papers to determine whether or not I'm a historical Anglo can just anonymously report me or my physician or my healthcare professional, launch an investigation, and maybe down the road I'll be cleared. But hey, listen, c'est comme ça qu'on vit au Québec, all right? The other element I find fascinating in all of this is that, and this is a subtext that has been growing, as far as I'm concerned, with the whole sales job they're doing with Bill 96. Apart from the fact that, you've got to be able to prove you're historic Anglo, which I have to tell you, honest to God, is kind of like I feel as if I've got to use my vaccine passport, right? I've got to go in and prove that, I'm inoculated, that I won't infect the Quebec nation with my language, or if I do, it'll be in a contained sanitary area, right? I mean, this is what the subtext of Bill 96 is. Yeah, we know you're historical Anglophones, but maybe, just maybe, you might be more comfortable living someplace else. I'm sorry, that's the straight-up message that I'm getting from it. I don't care how many point people they send out to try and pretend that this law is not an assault in and of itself on the rule of law, right? But as far as I'm concerned, I didn't think I'd see it happen in my lifetime. Between now and October 3rd, this is our third referendum. This is our third referendum on what kind of a country we're going to live in. The first two was, will that country be Quebec? But what version of Canada will we be living in after October 3rd, when an elected government, which got less than a quarter of all the eligible votes in 2018, has essentially unilaterally declared its independence in all but name, which is trampling on one law after another, hiding behind a notwithstanding clause, which is a flaw as far as I'm concerned in our legal system in this country, but also knowing that they can do this, because every so-called federal leader in this country is busy hiding under their desk anytime François Legault opens up his mouth.
So do you expect now, here it is, it's adopted, it becomes law. Does this open the door for the feds, the ones you're referring to finally stand up and say, okay, it's now law, we're going to act, or what are we going to do next?
The door has been swinging open for the past year. And every single time someone knocked on it towards Ottawa, people were just scrambling to get out of the way. You recall there was one a liberal MNA for, I think, in the writing that is called either it's called Saint Laurent or includes Saint Laurent, who dared to say that this idea of the French language is threatened, is not correct. She was censored by Justin Trudeau's party, and this is really, honestly, if François Legault is the perpetrator here, Justin Trudeau's the accomplice. Anybody who had any idea of that this country is ruled by law, and there are certain laws that override whatever latest idea happens in any province, I don't think we'd be having this conversation today. But this is it, and François Legault will, he'll look at his next poll results or whatever, because most francophones, as far as I can tell, still haven't figured out just how big a threat Bill 96 is to them. Mm-hmm. But once again, here we are. And this is what the campaign is going to be about. It's going to be about what kind of a Quebec you want to wake up to on October 4th. Because if you think Bill 96 is the end of it, think again. Some Journal de Montreal columnists will come up with another threat to the Quebec identity, to Quebec, the self-declared, the CAQ-declared Quebec nation. And we'll probably see legislation to cover that. As I've said in the weeks before, the only way to deal with this, and I think we got a taste of that from Julius Gray, is take it outside. Take it out in the real world, not the Ottawa, Quebec City bubble, and not just the political bubble, but also the journalist, the media bubble, okay? And let people know what exactly is going on here. I'm not screaming that, I realize there are worse places in the world, but as I've always said, Bill 96 and Bill 21 are examples of a government that's saying, we're going to break the law because the Constitution, the Charter of Rights is the law. We're going to break that law. We're going to use a loophole to keep breaking that law. And the question now is, when does it stop? Well, nobody knows. So right now, it's François Legault. I don't know who the next person, who he or she will be, but the fact is, don't take any single right you have for granted in this jurisdiction, because it's clear, at least one government, and maybe other governments to come, will say, well, you know what, we'll just short-circuit that. And with the non-existence, the radio silence, or as I prefer to call it, the abject moral and political cowardice that's being exhibited by the federal government in this entire affair, what's the next button they're going to push? Who knows? But it ain't over. And honestly, I think a lot of people will have to do a lot of thinking between now and October 3rd on how they're gonna cast their ballot, and maybe we'll have to be out there a little more visibly, a little more audibly, and like I say, not here but elsewhere. If you want to see a Quebec politician jump like a perch on the wharf, all right, take what they perceive as normal here, show it to the world outside, and see how they react.
I mean, I got to say, yes, it worries me on a political, on a governmental level hugely, but tenfold, I'm more worried about on an average citizen level. I'm thinking back to when Bill 21 went into effect and women were getting their hijabs ripped off on the bus, or at the very least getting yelled at. So that's what that's what I think hopefully will drive some real change here, is when that idiocy starts to happen. And it will. There's going to be the arrête de parler anglais, on parle français ici. That's going to be happening. And it's one thing, for it to happen to some students, and it's another thing for it to happen to our elders trying to get health care or just deposit a check at the bank or whatever it may be.
And the other element to this now, with the passage of this law, is that every language agitator, the type who's running around saying, don't speak English. We're not colonized here. Has now become a duly deputized niche for the Legault government.
Exactly.
Yeah, no question about that, Jim. I just wonder, timing-wise, seems to me when we were talking months ago, trying to speculate on whether this government would actually go ahead and pass this before the election or whether, where they're still sitting before they break. And I think we thought perhaps they're going to hold off on this. There's no reason to rush it through. In fact, they end up doing exactly that. Why do you think, why now?
Well, I think, I got to tell you, I honest to God thought they'd hold off until after the election. I thought they would campaign on this and see how it went and then try and have a fallback. But, I mean, this is the other thing, and you raise an excellent point. Francois Legault is now handcuffed to Bill 96. And I have a sneaking suspicion between now and October, it's not going to just be the usual Anglos, the usual suspects who are going to be piping up about this. I think you're going to see a growing movement in Quebec that, like it or not, a lot of Quebecers are going to start paying attention to, if only because it's becoming so ubiquitous and prevalent, and basically pointing out, everybody in this province had better pay attention to what this government is doing, because what this government is doing is illegal. It's done it before, and it will do it again. As I said earlier, this is a problem with our national system. Right now, I would say not just the ball, but the juggernaut is in Justin Trudeau's court. And I think in the next 24 hours, he had better say something, because no matter what he can't hide from this, and he's going to have to basically say where he stands as Prime Minister of Canada. And honestly, if he pulls more of his wishy-washy, adage-riddled Zen statements, I got news for you. We're all in a lot of trouble. When I say we all, I mean the whole country.
James MENNIE, the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Madam.